All right, you have been working from home for 4 long years. And now you have gotten a notification that your boss wants you back in the office. And I'm sure you're pissed. Like, I am an entrepreneur, but I would be pissed if I got to work from home for 4 good old years. And now my boss is saying, come back into the office. But the biggest question is why? Like, why are you being required to go back into the office? And hopefully, if you are a subscriber, you saw in my community tab, I posted like a little article, a little clip about Bank of America sending out letters threatening employees. You have to come back into the office now. And how frustrating is that, right? Because what's the point? What you're doing at home, you can also do at work or vice versa. So I get your frustration and I want to get into it. I want to hear your opinion. Do you currently work remotely? Have you been working remotely since 2020? And if so, what is the current state of affairs at your corporation, at your place of office? I want to know that. I want you to leave me comments because I need your feedback. Like, how are you feeling about this? Do you feel like there is a point in you coming back into the office? Do you feel like it's pointless? Do you feel like it's really about productivity? Me neither. I don't think it's about productivity. And matter of fact, I'm going to get into the reasons why it is not about productivity. So let me get out my handy dandy notes. And we're going to get into it. So, and I missed you guys. Look, for those of you who join me often, I had to get right on into it because sometimes I'm looking at my notes and I'm starting out and I'm sure people are clicking off like, sis, you got to get it together. We don't know you like that. We're not familiar with you. So we're not going to stay tuned in. But tonight's going to be just a little bit different. We started off super live and now we're going to get into it, but I do have to look at my notes. All right. So UPS, right? Several weeks ago, I have a family member who works for UPS. UPS, it was all over the news that UPS was requiring that employees come back into the office. They were given a deadline. Now, this week, UPS has made an announcement. They are now laying off employees. And that's the first thing I want to discuss tonight is one of the reasons why corporations are are requiring people to come back into the office is because they need to get rid of staff. They know that you guys have been working at home, comfortable, got a nice shirt on up top, got sweatpants on or pajama pants on the bottom. They know that some of y'all are rolling out of bed and logging on the Zoom, halfway brushing your teeth. Okay. So they know you've been home. You've been relaxing. You've been comfortable for 4 years. However, inflation hit the United States of America. Interest rates are super high, right? So what happens with that business? They're not doing as many transactions. It's no longer 20, especially shipping companies like UPS. When we were in the height of 2020, 2021, I'm not going to name specifically, what all occurred during that time. But during that time, what occurred was people were shipping packages. I know me personally, I was on Amazon all the time. Everything I needed was coming from Instacart or it was coming from Amazon. And that's just not the case anymore. We're leaving our homes. We're going out. We're picking up things on our own. And companies like UPS are suffering. So they need to get rid of some of the fat, right? What is the fat? Unwanted employees. And they don't want to be all over the news as doing major layoffs like some of these companies who've been in the news. They did big layoffs. It looks very bad on the company. It looks bad on their stability. So instead of doing that, demanding that employees come back into the office makes it easier for that corporation. Why? Because some employees are going to put their foot down and say, listen, my whole life is different. I've moved. I've lost weight. I'm spending more time with my children. I'm not coming back into your office. I'll find another job. I'll get into another industry. So they know that they're going to lose employees, and it puts them in a much better position than having to do mass layoffs. It makes them look better to their investors. It makes them look better as a corporation and to their customers and clients. So therefore, they are backing employees into a wall so that some of those employees are going to be forced to quit. They can cut out some of the fat, and then they will be more profitable. So that is one of the reasons why corporations are saying, hey, come back into the office or else. Another reason corporations are requiring people to come back into the office is corporate real estate, commercial real estate is on the fritz. And what I mean by that, if you've been with me anytime, if you've come to any of my lives, watch any of my, well, not necessarily my videos, but if you've come to my lives, you know that not only am I a small business consultant, but I'm also a real estate investor. My family is heavily involved in real estate and has been since I was very young. So I understand commercial real estate, and commercial real estate is on the fritz, y'all. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about office buildings first, because those of you who are being directly affected by that, you may want to hear this. And then we're going to talk about things like apartment complexes and why the combination of the two is just so volatile that some corporations are being forced to do things drastic, like telling you to come back into the office. So office spaces, some corporations own their real estate assets. Not having bodies in that office makes that real estate a non-performing asset. It affects not only that corporation, but it affects the way that investors look at them. They may look at them as them not being stable because they have assets that are worth billions of dollars. For instance, Amazon has billions of dollars in real estate. And if there are no warm bodies in that building, and you're keeping the lights on, you're keeping the water on, you're keeping the gas on, but nobody is there, it is now a non-performing asset, and it is very expensive on that balance sheet, right? So what do you do if you're a corporation? You say, rather than my company looking bad, I'm just going to require that my employees come back into the office. Who cares about their comfortability? Who cares about their convenience? They're my employees, so I'm going to require that they come back into the office. And that is exactly what corporations are doing. They don't want non-performing assets. They do not want it to look bad on their bottom line. So they're saying, hey, I am demanding you to come back into the office. Another part of that is corporations who rent their space. So you have a lot of corporations who rent the location that they occupy. Those rent terms are not like an apartment. In an apartment, your lease is usually 12 months. With a major corporation, their leases can be anywhere from 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I have seen them as high as 30 years. Why? When that developer built that piece of real estate, typically they did not build it with a specific build out. What do I mean by that? The way the walls are formed, where the offices are located. They usually do not, a commercial building that is going to house a major corporation, that tenant has some say-so in how they want their building built. So let's say that you are a corporate landlord or corporate developer and you build a skyscraper. And you know that in this skyscraper is going to house a major corporation. That's who your tenant is going to be. So you build this thing out. You put offices in certain spaces, bathrooms in certain spaces. You put the company logo in the floor and on the walls. And then 2020 hits and that building is empty. So now these corporations are saying, hey, we need to trim fat. We're no longer occupying this building like we were before. And the corporation looks at their lease terms and they see, wait, we just signed this lease in 2017 and we can't get out of it until 2027. What do? We see what they do. They say, hey, come back into the office. right? That's exactly what's happening right now. So it's creating a lot of stress and a lot of pressure for many Americans and also the corporations. And ultimately, we're going to see who wins this battle. I have seen that many models are changing over to hybrid, where the employee is getting their way and the corporation is getting their way, but we will see what happens in the end. And of course, corporations are having tantrums like small children, right? I have small children. And actually, my youngest child doesn't have as many tantrums as my older children used to, but corporations are having tantrums like small children. Why? The industry is shifting, times are shifting, human behavior is shifting. Think about if we lived in the when America, or when the world was based on it was an agricultural society. What challenges did people in agriculture face when we turned to machines and modern day industries? I'm sure they put up a fight. I'm sure they were upset. I mean, we can talk about the Civil War, for instance, and the challenges that were faced there with cotton and tobacco and sugar being major exports of the United States of America, and all of the challenges it caused a war, right? So now we're seeing a war, but this war is not a national war. We're just seeing a battle of power between employees and employers, employees and major corporations. And I don't know what's going to happen. Honestly, I do think times are going to change. Times have changed. And I personally, this is just my opinion, I see a hybrid model. If the people, stand up and they're persistent, people will create jobs for themselves. They will become entrepreneurs. They will find their own way and their own path where they do not have to be submitted to major corporations and have to respond and change their entire lives based on the whim of a corporation or based on the whim of big business. So now I want to get into the other part of commercial real estate that is suffering, and that is these luxury apartment complexes. So I don't know about you, but in the area that I live in, I can think of at least 10 apartment complexes that are being built right now. Why? Usually, when apartments are built, that development is years in the making. So the debt that has to be acquired to build something like that, the permits, the licensing, if the land has to be rezoned, that can take place 5-10 years before you actually see that building go up. So 4 years ago, debt was very, very cheap. There were a lot of real estate deals being done because the debt was so cheap. Well, now debt is very expensive. What do I mean by that? If you have a credit card, you understand interest rates are high. If you've been in the housing market, you understand interest rates are high. Not the highest they've ever been, but the highest that they have been since 2009, right? And because of that, building refinancing typically after a development is completed. So a building is built, an apartment complex is built, people start living in that apartment complex. 3, 5, maybe even 7 years after that, that developer or the person who operates that building usually refinances their debt. So think about you refinancing your car to a lower interest rate, or refinancing your house to a lower interest rate. The same thing happens in commercial real estate. Usually the debt that is taken on to build that building is temporary, and once that building is stable, meaning tenants are in the building, they're paying their rent on a monthly basis, then that operator or developer is now in a position to refinance the temporary debt into a more permanent debt, 10 years, 15 years. Well, interest rates have skyrocketed. So the numbers that they thought they were going to end up with, they no longer have, because the debt is so expensive. Some of them are not going to even be able to refinance because their building will technically be underwater if they take on a 9 or 10% interest rate. Why am I saying 9 to 10% when the rates are 6 to 7%? I am saying that because commercial interest rates are usually higher than residential interest rates. So if they cannot refinance, some of them will go under. Those loans will not perform. They will not be able to pay that money back. So we right now are dealing with a very tumultuous situation as it pertains to commercial real estate, both office buildings and apartment complexes. And because of this, we really don't know what's going to happen. I am not going to speculate and say that, oh, we're about to have a crash, even though some people do that in order to get more views. We are going to have to see how this plays out. Just a side note, so I'm a small business consultant, and during the pandemic, I helped small businesses get over $10 million in EIDL, PPP, and corporate grants. So with that being said, I have a background in public policy, and the research that I have been doing, there is a bill, I don't know if it has already passed, but Joe Biden is looking at putting a lot of money towards renovating office buildings into, not him personally, but making money available to turn office buildings into apartment complexes and affordable housing. So you do see some legislation that is in favor of, or legislation that tells us something is going to have to be done about the commercial real estate issue. But on a everyday person level, what you see playing out is these corporations are doing whatever necessary, whatever they can to try to preserve their assets, preserve their profitability, preserve their businesses, and that comes with requiring employees to come back into the office. Do I agree with this? I don't necessarily agree with it, but I do understand it, and I am interested to see how it will all play out. Now, if you have stayed with me this long, watch this video through, I want to hear what your thoughts are. Do you know about commercial real estate and what's going on? Do you think there's going to be a collapse? How are you feeling about going back into the office? If you're an entrepreneur, how is this affecting you? How is this impacting you? I want to hear from you. There are two things that I want to plug in right now. One, if you are tired of looking for grants just all online, you're taking screenshots, you're writing down notes, but you're not applying for anything, I want you to sign up for Business Funding Insider. There is going to be a link down in the description below. And on that landing page, there's a video where I share what business funding is all about. Essentially, it is grants being delivered directly to your email inbox. I send out those grants before they get here on YouTube. So check that out. Also, I am doing what's called a Launch Your Business Right from the Start 1-day challenge. It is 100% free. And in this challenge, I share the 16 steps that I take whenever I open a business, whenever I work with a one-on-one client to open their business. These are the 16 steps that I take. This class is absolutely free. So consider signing up for that. I believe the next one is February 5th. But I look forward to you signing up and joining me, whether you are a new business or you're an experienced business, you've been in business a long time. This is just a good refresher to make sure all your ducks are in a row so you can continue to grow your business, especially if you're going to need funding. And I'm not necessarily talking about grants. If you're going to need any type of funding, a loan, a commercial vehicle loan, if you're looking at buying land to develop a brick and mortar shop for yourself, this is a class that you want to attend. Awesome. You're going to sign up, Betty. Great. Thank you so much. So those of you who are interested, please sign up for that. Before I go, I'm actually going to leave some links in the chat, but I do want to hear from you. I do want to work with you. So whatever I have going on, I'll share links. I hope you guys sign up, but let me know in the comments. Even if you're watching this video later, what are your thoughts about commercial real estate and all of the changes that are taking place right now in the economy? I want to hear from you. Thank you so much for your participation and your support. If you have not already, please subscribe. And again, before I go, I'm about to be silent right now, but I am going to go ahead and find those links so I can put them in the chat. If you're watching this later, the links will be in the description below. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is the free challenge. We just did the challenge last week, so it is going to show you that it has passed. Go ahead and sign up anyway. I just have not had an opportunity. We just had one this past weekend. I have not had an opportunity to change the date, but you can still sign up, and I'll probably change that date right after I get off. So if you're watching this later, you're going to see that that date has already changed. And then the next thing I'm going to add is Business Funding Insider, which is a monthly newsletter that goes out. It is paid. It supports the channel, guys. I can't do everything for free, but it includes every single month I send you business grants, business funding opportunities. So thank you so much. You guys have a good night.